Hello children, welcome to my class. Today we will be doing English Language B and we are learning about characterization. Our last class was on narrative voice and this one is going to be on characterization. Now when we want to talk about analyzing a character, first we have to understand what it is. A character is what an author creates, and the author has to make the character believable. So when analyzing text and when we want to understand a character, we have to think of the characters as real people. Okay? Now to understand a character, think, what is the character like? When you're reading a text, try to understand what the character is like. How do you know this? Whatever you feel that the character is like, how do you know it? You have to be able to reminder, prove, using reference from text many a times in your exams. So you have to, when analyzing, understand which part of that text refers to what you are saying when you say that the character is like this or that. So to understand what a character is like, you have to look at the dialogues, you have to look at the actions. So you have to understand what the character says and you have to understand what the character does. Okay? Say for example, if the character says things like, bring it to me right now, I want it on my desk this morning, it needs to be finished immediately. So this helps us to understand that the character might be a figure of authority. Now when we talk about what a character does, say for example, a character is speaking to somebody in the extract where he says that he does not have time to look at the poor people on the sidewalk. However, some part of that extract also shows us that when the character is walking down the street, he is handing over food to someone who might be poor and on the sidewalk. So you see, the character says one thing but he is doing another. So by seeing what he does also tells us a lot about the character. This particular act actually tells us that the character might be a kind person. So moving on, number 3 is, how is the character described? So again, when you're reading an extract, you have to see what the character is described as. How he is dressed. Is he dressed in worn out clothes? Is he or she dressed in elegant clothes? Fashionable? This kind of stuff actually helps us to understand whether the character comes from a rich or a well-off background, or it could be he comes from a poor family. So again, when you are analyzing character, you have to see what the character is like, and this you can see from what he says and from what he does, from his dialogues and from the actions. You also have to see what the character is described as, what he is wearing, what his physical structure is. How did the others see the character? A very important part of analyzing character is how the others see him. So from a third person perspective, if it is described as the character stood tall and strong, goes to show that the person had character. He was strong. Sometimes when it is described as he put his chin up and walked by, that goes to show that the character had something or the other made up in his mind. Determination is what it shows. So you see how the third person looks at the character. Say for example, he seemed kind, but what he said did not match with what he was doing. Again, this is from a third person perspective how the other characters in the extract find the main character to be like. So when you look at a character in an extract from all perspectives, what the character is like, what he does, what he says, how the others see him, how he is dressed, how they walk, how they talk, what do they possess, what are the things that they have, a big car, a small house, no house at all. Everything goes to show what the character is like. So a writer, when they are writing about a character, build their character not only based on what they look like, but what they possess, how they dress, how they walk, how they talk. So when you are reading or writing about a character, you have to show what they do, what they look like, what they say, what they own. If you can keep these points in mind and then elaborate a little bit more on how the others see them, that's painting a very beautiful picture, a very complete picture about a character. So if you have to write on a character, these are the basic things that you have to know. And if you're analyzing a text, this is fairly a good ground to start with.